Good day and welcome to another episode of the Director's Chair Network. And this is the season we are covering Terrence Malick and his filmography. The last episode we did was Badlands. Today we are doing Days of Heaven, and I have with me a very special returning guest co-host, Kaylee. How are you today?
I am wonderful. I am so excited. And honestly, I can't wait to listen to your episode on Badlands.
Yeah, that was a fun recording and a fun film to discover. Of course, I won't repeat everything. Just go listen to it and what we thought about that film. But I would be curious, Kaylee, because you have come on with my Michael Mann and my Edswick. So this is your third guest back on with me, anyways. But you've been on other shows with other hosts on the network, so we appreciate your support and your great insights on these films. Why Terrence Malick for you? Do you have a fandom? Do you know who he is? What's your background?
So that's a really good question. And I've been nervous to answer this question for you because I think I'm going to lose a lot of street cred. I am not super familiar with Terrence Malick films. So it's a name that I have always heard. It's a name that everybody says this is a direct. If you like movies, you should be familiar with his filmography. I never have spent any time with Terrence Malick. So I've only seen a handful of his films. I've seen Badlands and Thin Red Line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be it. And now I've seen, of course.
Yeah, like, was I supposed to watch? Yeah, was I supposed to watch this film? Yes. Did you watch Days of Heaven by chance?
I did. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This was a first watch for me, though. So this was I had not seen this before you and I decided that this was going to be the movie that we were going to talk about.
Oh, great. Well, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing some of your thoughts on this. The way he is, the way he is, which is I don't know if anyone can truly answer, but we'll talk about some of that. Thin Red Line seems to be the starting point for a lot of people, and that's fair because look, you're much younger than me, but even old me when Thin Red Line came out, I came out in 98, so I was 23, and so at that point I remember I've always been big into film. So when that film came out, I'm big into war films. Of course, like I'm reading Entertainment Weekly, and all the people are like, "Oh, Terrence Malick coming back from a 20-year hiatus is doing a World War II." I'm like, who? Why? Why is everyone sucking this guy? Why are they so excited for this like Reclusive's return to film? Watching now Badlands and now Days of Heaven, I get why people in the mid 90s were excited to hear about, hey, he's coming back and he's doing something. He's doing a big project, and why so many actors. It makes more sense once you know these two films. Why so many actors on the Thin Red Line? Like, I don't care how many lines I have. I want to be in a Terrence Malick film, if that makes sense. That's why there's so many, George Clooney to Woody Harrelson. It's all over the place in that film because everybody wanted a piece of Terrence Malick.
I actually have a question for you. Do you know why he took that super long hiatus? Because I know it's not the only hiatus in his career, right? He then waited a long time to come back again after Thin Red Line, didn't he?
Yeah, a little bit, but not for Terrence. A 5-year break or a 6-year break is almost normal because he takes so long to edit sometimes and to create films. He's odd, and often people that are very good at what they do are kind of odd. The reason why I think he took a hiatus, he's notoriously, he doesn't give interviews. He really takes photos. It's actually hard to go find photos of him out there. He's kind of not like a Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys type recluse, but he's just, private, and he just doesn't share a lot, which makes part of his genius or his mystique more appealing for people because who is he? After this film and some of the trouble with it and his creative whatever, he went to Paris, France with his girlfriend to write and create, and he wrote I think 5 or 6 films. He had I think he just had everything going out of his brain, but he just never did anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So other than him coming out and saying why it was 20 years, I don't know. I haven't found it, so let us know if anyone knows why. But he just kind of didn't do a film for 20 years until he came out of retirement. Yeah. Okay. No, so Days of Heaven, I've seen it once before because of course I went back and watched Badlands and Days of Heaven after I watched Thin Red Line to see what was the scuttlebutt at the time. And so it's been a while since I've seen this film. What was your overall thoughts of just how did this film speak to you?
I think that the most obvious thing about this movie is its appearance. Every single frame of this film is worthy of being framed on your wall. It's truly, truly incredible how beautiful and stunning this one works. And the landscape itself almost becomes a central character to the film because it's so beautiful. There's moments where you're just watching wheat blow in the wind. and somehow you're feeling all the feelings even though nothing is happening, and you're looking at it for way too long and you're like, why am I looking at the wheat? But it's so beautiful, you don't even care.
You get Terrence. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's some people who don't, and bless their hearts, who don't. That is a Terrence Malick film. And there's people
Yeah.
who need their Marvel films, and I get it, or they're John Wick films. That's fine. There's audiences for that too. And I like those films. But if you don't understand the way Terrence operates and the way he films, there is no reason sometimes. He just says, how are you feeling as a viewer? It's your choice on how you want to feel about certain images and scenes. And if you watch this film not knowing Terrence at all, I would dare say some people, what am I watching?
It's almost adrift. The entire movie is almost adrift. It's just kind of looking into characters' lives, and that can be a big challenge. And it definitely, usually I say that I love all movies, and I do. I'm not like a genre person where I need to have a movie in a specific genre. I generally like a little bit of everything. This is a hard movie to go into unless you're in the mood to watch it.
Sure.
You really have to be feeling the things. It's I see a lot of people comparing it to reading poetry. It's much more of a feeling than it is a movie almost.
No, that's true. And having just watched Badlands and reviewing, and I said to my co-host at the time, Kaylee, I said to her, that was her first viewing was Badlands, and she really liked it. But I said to her, I said, this is your most coherent. There was a real story there, and it, A to B to Z. This film already, his second film, just a few years later, he's already kind of going into like, ooh, land. It's like, a little less coherent. Terrence himself said he had a script and dialogue that he threw out. So filming is starting, and he's like, okay, I've got a story here. You ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, for example?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this sort of ties in. In Curb Your Enthusiasm, they have a story. They're like, okay, so Larry and and another character, they're at a coffee shop, and okay, the idea is you guys are gonna at the end of the scene, you're both gonna talk about what you think the coffee should taste like. Go. The end of the scene, you will have a feeling what the coffee tastes like, whatever that is. That's sort of what Terrence did with this. Is he said, you guys are in the field right now. And he would tell his actors, think of your first birthday that you can remember. Just let the grass or the wheat speak to you. Let the animals talk to you. Just talk to each other as you're walking through. You're 1912. Go.
You live around here?
No. No, I don't. Where do you live?
In Chicago.
Oh, yeah?
What's that in your hair?
My hair?
This.
My ear?
Yeah.
It's what you call makings.
What's a makings?
A cigarette.
Oh.
It's tobacco in a bag, and you roll it up.
Oh.
But I'm gonna save it.
You like it out here?
Yeah.
It's nice.
I love it out here. I like the wheat fields.
You have any brothers or sisters?
No.
I have a brother.
What's his name?
Bill.
Where?
He's somewhere. I don't know, over there. I don't know.
And the actors embraced that. They really did. They challenged them to come up with their own dialogue, their own story. The good and bad of this is there is a naturalness to it. And there was a couple scenes with Linda and Brooke Adams where they're walking through the field earlier in the film, and they're just talking, and you can tell that it's sort of two actors talking in their costumes, but they're playing their. It's a very fine line between. You can tell they're ad-libbing, but they kept it in the film. Do you get what I'm saying with those scenes?
I do.
Okay.
And I think that that's such a beautiful way to create filmography. It almost goes into like the idea of like the Dogma 95 films and like the more like guerrilla film styles. But here we have it on a huge budget in a very poetic and stunning film. I love that sort of filmmaking because I think that giving your actors the ability to create who their characters are going to be usually gets a really interesting character. And we certainly get that here, especially with Richard Gere's performance. I mean, I thought it was outstanding.
Well, since we're talking about the characters and the actors that played them, let's start with Brooke Adams, who plays Abby. I've never heard of her. Lovely woman, great in this film. From my filmography search on her, she seems like she kind of stayed in almost B-movie roles. Did you have any history on her?
Oh my God, what's the name? She is in a B movie. She's in a B horror movie that I like. And that's my only
Shockwaves?
other. Yeah. Shockwaves.
Well, that was the one that she was in before this one.
Yeah. And I love that movie. I don't know that I
okay.
would have realized that it was her if I hadn't recently watched Shockwaves. So
Really? So you recently saw Shockwaves? What are the odds that you recently watched Shockwaves and then watch her?
I
in
couldn't
Days
believe
of-
it. Very different, vastly different.
You
But
think?
again, she does a great job in this, and her character is a peculiar character. You know, I mean, she's playing a love interest who is pretending to be a sibling of the person that she has a love interest with, and
They told everybody they were brother and sister. My brother didn't want nobody to know. You know how people are. You tell them something, they start talking.
Your sister keep you warm at night, does she? What'd you say? You heard me.
What's going on?
What's the matter?
You know what I mean. Why do you let him touch you like that?
What are you talking about?
I don't know how brothers and sisters act where you come from.
Did you ever have a sister? Well, then who are you to judge?
it's a really challenging role, and she does such a great job.
She's great. And it's weird that she didn't. I don't know. I mean, the next movie that she was in the same year of release, anyways. Now, granted, it should be noted Days of Heaven was released in 78, but I think it was filmed like in 76. It took 2 years to edit. Terrence.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So when Richard Gere started in this film when it came out, he had already filmed. The film was edited and released after principal photography, this one. So when this one came out, people, oh yeah, Richard Gere from that other film that he was really good in. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. Yeah, but this one had already been done. So when Richard Gere was hired to do that, he was an unknown at the time. But it's just ironic that now he's known, but now he comes out with Days of Heaven. So, oh yeah, starring Richard Gere, the guy who was great in this other film. And I think the same thing happened with Brooke Adams, because she was in Shockwaves. I'm trying to think of what was the connection between, like, why did they grab her? And then she was in The Invasion of the Body Snatchers right after.
That's right. Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. She is.
But then I'm looking at I admit, yes, I know we're not supposed to do this, but I'm looking at Wikipedia and all the films she's been in. I'm like, I don't even know the names of the films. Why is she a Why is she a B movie actress? I don't get it. She's great. What happened?
Yeah. You know, I mean, it is possible. A lot of the time people talk about what they succeed at and they talk about what they like to do. It is entirely possible. She just loves doing that stuff, right?
I guess.
I mean, it's got to be.
Let's be honest. She's a good looking woman and she did a great job in this film. It's a very high end, artsy, high acting type film. And it's just weird to see her just go on to.
I would expect after her performance in Days of Heaven, I would expect people like Lars von Trier to be scooping her up and not letting her go.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, you're right. So she plays Abby, and for context, she is the girlfriend to Richard Gere's character. For some reason, I don't know if you caught why, but when they work with these, this is 1910 Chicago. It's just before the World War, and I don't know if there's quite the Depression, but work is hard to find, and they're poor. And they're just getting all these other odd jobs as they go from place to place. And that's how they land on the farmer's wheat field, to work in the wheat field. But they decided to play brother and sister versus boyfriend, girlfriend. Is there a reason why is it because of the time maybe? Or
the reason that they give is because they don't want there to be rumors around
about
them.
What?
I have no idea. It makes no sense to me.
Okay.
I must say, so we get introduced to this concept relatively early on in the film. And I think that we're getting the idea of it when they're riding on the top of a train and they're kind of draped around each other. Like
they're cuddling like lovers.
They're cuddling like lovers. And we're getting this backfill story of that they're going to pretend to be siblings so that there are no rumors about them. And I was like, well, I think that there might be weirder rumors about you if you're behaving like this. This seems highly inappropriate for a brother and sister.
Yeah.
So I really did not understand the point of doing that. But maybe it leads into the idea of Terrence Malick kind of scrapping his script, because he did need to give a reason why Abby would then go and pursue another guy and why that would be believable.
It works for that moment. You're right.
Yes.
It works when they get to the farm, but I believe the brother-sister narrative was formed before they got to the farm.
Yeah, I agree too.
Okay.
It's very weird.
They should have maybe introduced it, I guess, in today's linear type filmmaking. It would have been better to have they said, now that we're on the farm, we should quick dialogue. Hey, Abby, we're brother, for all intents and purposes, while working on this farm, we're brother and sister.
And I understand why they couldn't just say something like we're friends, because probably they would have gotten separated if they weren't family. I would assume that the farm work that they're doing, it might have been more expected to separate them and bring them to different farms if they weren't family. Perhaps there was a nice idea of keeping families together. So I understand why they had to do that. I just don't understand. Have you ever said to one of your significant others, let's pretend that we're brother and sister? I know that storyline happens in pornos sometimes, but I just don't think that is a real thing in the real world.
I don't know what you're talking about, Kaylee. Could you explain this to me? What's the storyline you speak of?
I'll let you look it up later.
Oh, okay, good. I will. All right. I probably won't be able to insert any clips into the post-edit, though. I do have a theory, though. So Terrence Malick, I believe, is Christian. And the idea, or at least he believes in Jesus, believes in the Bible. It goes without saying he's at least a creationist in his later films. So he definitely draws, as a lot of authors or players do, biblical references, biblical stories, and ideas. So I have a theory. When Abraham was traveling with his wife, Sarah, I believe I'm getting this right. Excuse me, Bible scholars, if I'm getting this wrong. But I believe, anyways, I forget the name. I think it was Sarah, that they pretended to be brother and sister to avoid, to avoid confrontation with people. It seemed to be, at that time, it was better for them to pretend to be siblings than husband and wife, because if they're husband and wife, people were trying to take his pretty wife. But ironically, because it was the sister, there was more honor bound to not take Buddy's sister from him.
That makes so much sense, and I wouldn't have even thought about the religious connection. There is quite a lot of, not necessarily religious imagery, but certainly other allusions to things within religion. The apocalypse. And one of the most stunning scenes in the entire film involves locusts. So very, very, very interesting.
So
that's a great point.
Well, every now and then, Kaylee, I come up with something. So I think that could be what the connection is. Because if this is a biblical allegory, because you're right, the locusts, Gere comes back and he brings the plagues with him to, let my people go type thing. And that's, that's the whole idea there. The plagues follow him. So yeah, it's a fascinating. This is what Malick does. And that's what poetry does. So Malick could come back and say to you, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's what you got from it, because that's what poetry will do, is like, where did it take you? Where did it take your imagination? Where did it take your brain? So yeah, Brooke was great in this, playing Abby. What was the other thing about her character that you might want to talk about, that drew you about her, or something about her that you liked?
The character arc that she goes through, I think, is perhaps one of my favorite arcs in the story. She really does. You can see her questioning love, you can see her questioning life, you can see when she's getting excited, when she's being maybe a little bit of impressed by things. She's easily impressed, and she gets excited about jewelry pieces, and I thought that was so incredibly well developed, and I loved getting to see how she had these kind of transitions in this very drifting narrative.
Very well said. Did you ever see the movie? I'm sure you did, but do you recall, and did you see the movie Legends of the Fall, directed by Ed Zwick?
Yes.
Do you recall the overarching storyline of that?
No, I have the worst memory ever. If you say it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I know that.
Well, I'm a huge Zwick fan. That's why I started this whole network based on his films, and all because of Legends of the Fall. So you can almost blame Legends of the Fall, my love of that film, and then following Zwick's career, yada, yada, yada. And within that film, there's a storyline that matches this one. And I don't know if Zwick is a film auteur himself, and I'm sure, of course, he's seen the Malick films, of course. Within the Legends of the Fall, it's the story of three brothers in love with one woman. The first brother is killed in World War I, ironically, another World War I scenario here. So it's the same timeline. And then Tristan, played by Brad Pitt, he's sort of the bad boy. He's got a crazy past, with this stuff, and just a little bit of a wild boy. And all the girls, right, Kaylee? All the girls love the bad boys.
Always.
Yeah. So Julia Ormond's character is kind of like infatuated and kind of lust. I guess you could say the lust is after Brad Pitt's character, but the stable person, the man who will give her a good life, is played by Aidan Quinn, and that's the farmer in this film. So what happens in this film is what we see is Abby, though for context, people, I mean, if you haven't seen the film, see the film, and of course there's spoilers, but we don't go in order of our spoilers. So the context is that they con the farmer and as brother and sister, playing as brother and sisters, because he has a health ailment coming that's going to kill him apparently within a year. So Richard Gere's character is like, hey, marry the farmer, he dies, you get the will, and we'll live happily ever after. I'll marry you after.
Never thought he'd have the guts. Who'd know but you and me?
Nobody.
That's all that matters, isn't it?
You talk like it was all right.
Never have a chance to enjoy his money anyway.
What makes you think we're talking about just a couple of months?
Well, the man's got one foot on a banana peel, the other on a roller skate. And we'll all be gone in a couple of years. Who's gonna care that we acted perfect?
I held out a long time. I had rich men pay me compliments.
It's actually a pretty good plan. There's no murder. They just wait out his death, and they get the farm, they get the riches because he has a lot of money. Even his accountant's like, dude, you got a lot of money. Why don't you just go to Florida and have fun with some whores or whatever? And he's like, nah, I kind of like my farm.
That's at a profit of $4.75 an acre. Multiply that by 20,000. You're talking over six figures. Big year. Your biggest ever. Should make you the richest man in the Panhandle. You ought to get out while you're this far ahead. You have nothing to gain by staying.
I like my farm.
I like my farm. So I say all this because in Legends of the Fall, it's the same storyline. And in fact, when Gere's character realizes that Abby has actually fallen in love with the farmer for real, like because he's a good man.
Did you say anything to him? I've never seen him act like this before. He must think we're awful.
What do you care what he thinks? You're in love with him, aren't you?
You leaving?
Yeah?
What for?
Got some business to take care of. They're giving me a lift.
Just like that, huh?
Guess so.
He's seen how it all was. She loves the farmer.
And that's the same thing that happened to Julia Ormond's character. She actually falls in love with Aidan Quinn because he's a good man. He leaves. Brad Pitt's character left, had his crazy trials out there. He leaves, and he became a successful businessman. Gere's character leaves too, and he becomes a successful businessman because he comes back with a nice new motorcycle. And they actually said, like, we've read about your success in the papers in Chicago.
Hey, Springle! I miss you so much. Do you miss me?
Yeah.
How much?
A lot.
Hey, you look just the same. How you doing? And we've been reading about you. What do you mean? Oh, about Chicago. Oh. You come all that way by motorcycle?
I couldn't believe it, the similarities. Am I going crazy here?
I think you're totally onto something, and I would not be at all surprised if Zwick was inspired heavily by this movie. But I will also say that I do think that this is maybe not the pretending to be brother and sister portion of this, but I do think that this is a relatively common kind of love triangle that a lot of people experience. And I think that that's one of the reasons that this film feels so melancholy, I guess. There's a little bit of melancholy about it because I think that I know I have been in situations where I've been like, well, I could start dating this guy and that would be really great and really exciting and romantic. Or I could start dating this guy and he's really stable and he would give me a very reasonable life. And that's kind of the position that I saw Abby as in and throughout this film is she's making these decisions. She's discovering, do I really want to be with the guy who wants me to be his sister, or do I want to be with the guy who, maybe has some excitement, or do I want to be with the guy who it turns out he's really nice and he can give me this stable life? I think it's probably a more common storyline than we think, but that is very interesting.
Kaylee, I'm the boring guy that would just give you a good life. I'm sorry. I'm just not a bad boy. I'm so boring.
I have always chosen, anytime I have been in that situation, I have always chosen stability.
Oh, okay. Well, if it doesn't work out between my wife and I'll send you I'll send you an invite. But I think things are going okay right now, so you'll have to wait.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
I'll respect that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so that was Abby, played by the lovely Brooke Adams. I'm gonna have to go watch some of these other, which I love doing. Some of these B movies. In fact, I don't want to invite me on your show once over with Kaylee. Great show, by the way. But if you see any of these B type movies that she's in, you want to review, I would love to do it.
Yeah, we should do that. I would love that. That'll pair perfectly with this.
Did you do Shockwaves on your show already?
I have not. We could do that. I love it. I think we're going to do it. I'm going to write myself a note because otherwise I forget everything.
I would love to see Shockwaves. I just see that. I'm looking at the movie poster. And here's the tagline, or the film is about a group of tourists who encounter aquatic Nazi zombies when they become shipwrecked. Say no more.
I think you're going to like it. It's pretty wacky.
I get a shock waves. They're in the water. Wait, clever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam Shepard's in this film. That's an actor that you hear of over the years. I've said this about many of the actors that I've covered on this series. It's like, oh, I don't see a movie because Sam is in it, but when he's in it, you're like, oh, he's a good actor. What are your thoughts on Sam Shepard and his role?
Is he the farmer?
He's the farmer. He has no. You notice he has no name. He's just called the farmer. He has no name in the whole film.
I thought that was a really interesting choice. He was outstanding, I thought. I thought that he was a little, I don't want to say plain, but I think that his character was intended to be plain. And because of that, he certainly came across that way, though. I will say I'm not very familiar with his filmography either. Maybe I'm sure that if you started saying stuff that he was in, I would recognize it. I recognized his face. This was the first time there were certain scenes where they would do like close-ups of his face, and he looked so much like he's in Trees Lounge. He was on
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. He looked so much like Steve Buscemi at certain points. Why was Trees Lounge the first thing that came to my mind for Steve Buscemi? There's like 1,000 other Steve Buscemi things that I could have thought of before that. But regardless, there were definitely some times that I saw Sam Shepard looking like the young Steve Buscemi, and it kept kind of throwing me off. Like it almost took me out of the movie, not to any fault of Sam Shepard's.
No, and this was his first film role.
Yeah.
Major role. And apparently he was before this, he was like a playwright. He was an author and a screenplay writer of his own. So he wrote plays, and he actually, while he was on the set, because there was a little bit of downtime, he wrote, I forget which play it was, but he actually wrote a play that got into production while he was on the set. This guy's just like a workhorse. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, he was great, very solid for an early role. I think he was supposed to be not plain, but what I liked about him playing as the farmer was that we see him crack as good as a person that he is, and as plain. I wouldn't say a cuck is not the right word, but this borderline. He gets mad. He tosses Abby around like, you've been lying to me. He grabs the gun to go kill her quote unquote brother.
What did you want from me?
Wait!
You're a liar!
I get it, dude. Like, you've been hoodwinked. I thought his turn at the end was tragic and sad. You feel bad for him because he gets like, that's the thing about what I love about Terrence Malick films.
Yeah.
And you'll see this is who are you rooting for? Same with like Badlands. Like, are we rooting for murderers? I don't get it. Like,
you're just looking at a slice of life. It's just a slice of life. I love that sequence. I want to talk specifically about the sequence where the farmer is first acknowledging that perhaps something more than a brother-sister relationship is going on between Bill and Abby. He's looking in a window, and the editing of that sequence is so beautiful. I mean, that is something, I feel like the things I will remember from this movie are watching wheat blow in the wind, and that sequence of him looking in through the window and seeing the two of them be perhaps a little bit too close to each other. The way that the shadows are, it almost looks like their shadows are kissing, but you can tell that they aren't. And so you don't know how much of it is the imagination of the farmer and how much of it is real because of what we, the audience, know. That was so masterful. I cannot get enough of that scene.
I think the devil was on the farm.
Well said. Yeah, and I actually thought during this film, I wonder, it was never said, and again, that I think Malick leaves it to you, the viewer, when he's approached by his foreman saying, look, these guys are con artists, they're hoodwinking you, and he's like, dude, I love her, I don't care.
You don't like them, do you? Never have.
I don't think they're honest people. As a matter of fact, I think they're a pair of con artists.
You know, maybe you'd be better off taking over the North End till spring. I mean, we've been together a long time, and I've always felt close to you. Just it might work out better is all. Less friction. You're talking about my wife.
Maybe I better pack.
I think he knew. I think he always knew. And I think having the foreman tell him, it's you know, like truth hurts. You know, when you hear something that's being critiqued about you and you realize it's true, you get on the, you know, the offensive. I don't know if you're aware of any people like that in the podcast world.
No.
When you call them out for their garbage behavior and they get defensive because it's true. I think when Sam's character, the farmer, I think he kind of knew, but I think he's like, well, I'm dying anyways, and she's gorgeous, and he's not doing anything to me, and what else am I going to do? But I think he was sort of in denial, but I think he was aware too, because we see scenes of him noticing or picking up hints, but he doesn't say or ask, so it's not enough for him to say, hey, until the very end, of course. But I think he kind of knew, but then became too much. And speaking of which, a story about the farmer. So he was supposed to die within the year. That's the whole reason why this whole ruse took place. So when the harvest was over, the workers all got released. But the idea is now Abby has said, you know, he's approached Abby and said, look, I think you're hot. I want to be with you. I think I love you. You know, he says it right away. I think I love you. I'm in love with you. And she's like, oh, that's very sweet. And she goes, well, if you want me to be your wife, my brother and his sister have to stay with me. And she goes, oh, great, family.
I think I love you.
What a nice thing to say. Yeah, I could stay, sure. I gotta keep my brother and sister with me, though.
So that's how that ruse started, was the marriage over the off season of the harvest. But what was interesting is, and I knew this was going to happen. I'm glad I thought of it before the movie did. He got better. Whatever he had, whatever malaise he had, which is never described in the film, the narration played by Linda was like, oh, the farmer got better.
Instead of getting sicker, he just stayed the same. He didn't get sicker, he didn't get better. They were kind-hearted. They thought he was going out on his own steam.
Yeah, because he has something to live for now.
That's a very sweet way to say it, and very poetic. And yes, you're exactly correct. That is, it was an unsurprising twist, but it was still an effective twist.
Yeah. And then you realize, oh crap, he ain't dying. What? So now we know what's the resolve going to be. They're going to have a Three's Company situation. No, there's
probably not.
No, it's going to come to a head. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Mr. Gere now. So this was his first film, really his biggest film at the time that he filmed. He released a film that was filmed after this and then released before. It was called Blood Brothers. And Looking for Mr. Goodbar. That's right. So that's crazy.
Mr. Goodbar. Yeah.
That's right. So Looking for Mr. Goodbar was, he wrapped Days of Heaven. Looking for Mr. Goodbar was filmed, edited, and released, and Days of Heaven comes out the year after. Isn't that crazy?
That's so funny.
Yeah. So now Richard Gere, now obviously a bigger name here now. This is probably the earliest role you've seen him in, maybe?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on him as an actor?
You were kind of describing Sam Shepard as somebody who you never really, you're not going to the movie because he's in it, but you're happy to see him. That's how I've always kind of felt about Gere. He's never been my favorite actor. This is actually probably in Days of Heaven is probably the most attracted to him I have been, which is peculiar because I do tend to like older guys, and he has aged very nicely as a human, but I don't generally find myself, he's not like one of my, it's 1999 and Brad Pitt is in this, so I got to go see it. But I loved his acting style in this. I thought that you could really feel like the raw, sentimental feelings that he's having throughout the film, and he did a great job.
So Mr. Malick said this about Terrence. He says, I saw Richard in a play in New York. He had this raw energy, like someone who did actually work the mills and fields. Yeah. He wasn't polished yet. That's what we needed for Bill. Someone who could vanish into the dust and wheat without trying too hard.
Yes.
And check this out. This also shows you a little bit of Richard's character, which is kind of cool. Richard, this is Malick again about Richard. And he said, Richard brought a humility to the set that grounded everyone. He'd show up before dawn, help unload gear, even fix fences between takes. It wasn't acting for him. It was living the character's life, and that bled into every frame.
That's so beautiful. And you can truly see that.
Yeah. And speaking of the sets, I mean, we should mention right now that house, the famous house in the middle of the field there, that was a house built just for the movie. So they built this real house as part of that $3 million budget at the time. They built a legit home in the middle of nowhere just so they could burn it down at the end.
A beautiful looking home too. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to live there.
Don't you want to live there?
Yeah.
I've always said I would love to live back in those times, Kaylee, if they had modern day plumbing.
I would like to live back in those times if they had the internet.
No
Yes.
internet.
Yes, internet. Yay, internet.
So, yes, can you imagine 1912 podcasting? That was some nice things said about Gere from Malick. This is what Gere said about Malick. So he talks about the this word. When they had to improvise while they shot, this is what Gere said about Terrence Malick's patience. He said, quote, "It would be like, do it again, and hopefully you would come up with something he liked. But it could be deeply frustrating. But that's just how Terry works, and it worked for him." So he's just like, think of something again, do something again, do something again. And which is crazy because they filmed, I don't know if you caught this, but the lighting in the film. Okay, so they didn't use any artificial lights in the film. Outside, all the outside lighting was real. There's no artificial lighting, no like big, the big lights with the curtains or whatever, the flashlights onto the people. So every lighting you see outside, the only artificial lighting they used was some of the interior shots, of course, with the light coming inside. But all the exterior lighting they used that 1 hour of dusk or dawn for that lighting. So they would literally be sitting around waiting, and they would yell the word, what was it? The light or the lighting, or so they would yell, and they'd all scramble from whatever they're playing cards, writing the playwrights, and they get to their positions and do whatever takes they could in that 20-minute period.
I cannot imagine filming like that. That is the most crazy thing. I mean, it's extremely effective. And I think that this did win an Oscar for Best Cinematography, which surely that is attributed to. It's incredibly, incredibly effective. And I'm really glad that they did it. But oh my God, can you imagine filming an entire movie in 20 minutes a day?
Yeah.
And especially with the guerrilla style of the improvisation that we were just talking about, because now it's okay, say it again. You got to think on your feet so quickly.
Yeah.
Truly amazing. Truly amazing.
Sam Shepard talked about this as well. He said here about the filming for Malick, he said it's like painting. You mentioned this. It's like a painting that moves. You mentioned the artwork, that every frame, look at you.
Every frame.
Every frame.
It reminded me actually quite a bit of, I've probably mentioned this even on your channel before, but it reminded me quite a bit of The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. Which to me, that is just an art piece of a movie. And this felt very, very similar to that, where you can kind of take any moment and just say, God damn it, it's a painting.
Yeah. Yeah, and you caught that, and Sam agrees with you. He goes on to say that Terry's got this way of making the land tell the story more than words. You caught that as well. The wheat fields, the light at dusk, it's all alive like Eden before the fall. Now that's the words of a playwright there. Look at him giving this interview. He's talking like a poet himself. I love the way these older actors and actresses speak. I miss those ways of speaking compared to some of our younger.
I do too. And now I love this also because there is so much. The dialogue is quite sparse throughout the film. It is narrated, which I do want to talk about.
We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it.
The dialogue is quite sparse, but that makes those images carry all of the emotional weight. So again, it does become like walking through an art gallery more than it becomes like listening to a song, which of course we also have to talk about the music at some point.
We will. I promise.
I'm excited.
No, it's good. I'm glad you are. It's great. It's fun to talk about crappy films because it's fun to talk about. The only thing worse than talking about a crappy film is talking about a mediocre film. Sometimes it's hard to talk about a film. That's fine. So the point is, this is a great movie. So the other spectrum is when you have a lot. There's so much you could do. We're ham and eggers compared to some podcasts, or at least I am, because there's so much in this film, but there's so much you can just like a poetry expert could talk about this film. There's just so many different things. I'm just a good old-fashioned moviegoer. I watch a film, how does it make me feel? And what I like about Terrence Malick films is I just feel something. I feel like I want to be there. I want to be in the fields. I want to be on the horses, and you feel all the chaos of the wheat burning and all that. Like I get stressed out about stuff like that. I want to see the wheat burning. Part of me is watching as the story, but the other part of me is watching how do they control that fire? Did you wonder how they controlled the fire at the end there? Honestly,
It felt like chaos.
stressful. You see, it was
Yeah.
stressful.
Yeah.
Because
The
the
tension
70s,
during
man.
those scenes is quite palpable.
Yeah, and I loved it, and I suspect it was a controlled fire, but my goodness, it seemed pretty big. And
Yeah.
they're filming this in Alberta, in my country here in Alberta, and it's basically like the Texas of Canada, and those wheat fields are real. I don't know what boy, you got to be careful. We have wildfires up here, Kaylee. It's a real thing.
Fire is scary.
So I
Fire
don't
is
know
the
how they
scariest thing.
controlled that.
My cat is a pyromaniac. He's constantly trying to light things on fire. I can't keep him away from fire. And I'm terrified that one day he's going to burn my house down. If my house ever burns down, it 100% was my cat. I just want to say that right now.
Noted. Okay. We have it on record.
Yes. Thank you.
Now, before we talk about the music, and what was the other thing you wanted to mention?
The voiceover narrations.
Oh, well, that's where we're going. Okay, good. Thank you.
Perfect.
Linda Manz.
Yes. Oh my God. I got absorbed in her.
Yeah, she is just, she was 15 at the time. I think 16, almost 17 when it was released, but I think she was about 15 when she was cast and filmed. So let's just say 16 at the time of filming. She had a very, a younger face, so she almost could have passed for a 12 or 13-year-old. But did you know how she was found?
I don't. Tell me.
This is from her. Quote, "They found me in the laundromat at a 10th Avenue and 51st Street in New York. This lady goes, 'Do you want to be in the movie?' I said, 'How much you paying?' She said, $300 a week. I said, 'Yeah, I'll do it.' And that was it."
That's amazing.
She was literally a kid in New York, had that street, you could hear in her voice the way she's talking, that kind of like talking like this, She'd never had any acting experience in her life. The classic the casting director or whoever pulls her out of a laundromat and says, "Hey, you look like the kid we need for this film. You got that look, you got that swag." She actually never became anything per se. Like, we're talking about Brooke Adams, a great actress. Linda Manz, another great actress from this. She did some films. She's sort of semi-retired, but she became kind of a cult-like figure amongst film buffs. She has this allure that people have been drawn to over the years, that they've created sort of this, if you know who Linda Manz is, you're part of that group. And then she died young in her 50s. She kind of has a sort of a tragic story, but I think her son died too or something like that. She died in her 50s or something. I can't remember. So I think it was a disease, or it wasn't like anything self-inflicted or bad living. I think she just had cancer or something like that. It's a fascinating start to her career. Talking now about the narrations, what happened was, this is what she said. She goes, "Terrence Malick," because she called him Terry, so I'll say this. "So Terry never told me nothing." And this is how she talked. He just said, "Go out there and talk about what you feel like." So I'd sit on the porch with a microphone and talk about fire and the devil and growing up poor. That's how the voiceover happened.
I met this guy named Ding Dong. He told me the whole earth is going up in flames. Flames will come out of here and there, and they'll just rise up. The mountains are gonna go up in big flames. The water's gonna rise in flames. There's gonna be creatures running every which way. Some of them burnt, half their wings burning. People are gonna be screaming and hollering for help. See, the people that have been good, they're gonna go to heaven and escape all that fire. But if you've been bad, God don't even hear you. He don't even hear you talking.
The editing this movie must have been such a dang nightmare.
2 years.
It's such a nightmare. I cannot imagine editing this movie. The voiceover narration for me was a necessary evil. You wouldn't have understood the movie if there wasn't the voiceover narration. I don't know if it was always the plan to have that.
You're catching it. You're good. You're good at your job, Kaylee. You're catching it. What happened was, like we said, Terrence threw out the script.
Yeah.
People got frustrated by that. To walk around, touch the grass, so to speak. It was during the editing he called her in right here. So here we go. On improvising the famous narration. She continues. They'd roll the film of the day's footage and Terry would go, "Linda, say something." I'd watch Richard and Brooke running around the wheat and I would just make shit up. Sometimes I didn't even know what the movie was about.
Well, if it wasn't for her, I don't think anybody would know what the movie is about. So she obviously did a great job. And that is incredible improvisation. And probably one of the reasons that she would have been picked off the street in a laundromat, because she has that grit. And I can completely understand why people would have gravitated to her in this way, because she really does give the entire movie this, it's an emotional weight. There's an unsentimental realism to everything that she does, where it does just kind of feel like somebody's stream of consciousness, which I think is kind of the point of the entire movie in the first place.
I found that there's not in a bad way, but there is so much, visual and slowness. But the last 10 minutes felt like a whole new movie.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're like, Richard Gere's character gets killed. Abby drops off Linda at a boarding school. Abby jumps on a train of World War I soldiers. I don't know what she was going to do with those soldiers on the train, but she hopped on a train full of men going off to war for World War I. I don't know what that was about. And then Linda, I had to research it. Like, did she know this girl? Apparently, this girl worked on the farm as well, so she was in the city. So they hooked up. So they knew each other from before. She escapes the boarding school and runs off with this girl down the train tracks. She goes, "Oh, I don't know where we're going off to the next adventure." What are your thoughts on let's get back to Abby, I guess. Like her hopping that train, the World War I. What was that about?
A lot happens at the end of this movie.
Yes.
And I almost wish that it was a little bit more ambiguous.
Okay.
I almost wish that we had gotten the character Bill played by Gere. He dies, and then I almost wish we don't know what happened to the two girls. And I suppose in the one sense we don't really know what happens to them. I would have liked to see almost nothing. This is a slice of life, and so it has to end at some point. And I don't necessarily want my characters to have. I want to interpret what they're doing next. I don't want them going off to World War I, presumably to help with the war efforts, and I don't want to know that they're escaping from boarding school, and I just want nothing. I want nothing.
It was so quick and furious, not in a bad way. It was like back to Linda Manz, who played Linda in the movie, which I think is great. I think they literally just called the character Linda because it's probably just easier. You're Linda playing Linda. It's your first movie. You're Linda.
Yeah.
She goes on to say that Terry was really quiet. He looked like a monk or something. You'd see him walking across the wheat field talking to the grasshoppers like they were his friends.
That's adorable.
And then she lastly said, I got paid to run around in the field all summer. Best job I ever had.
Aw, I love that.
Yeah. Brooke Adams, who played Abby, and Linda Manz, who played Linda, when they both saw the film in the theater for the first time, now they've seen the finished product, they both bawled the whole movie through. They were so moved, and they couldn't believe what was actually, because they didn't know.
I mean, how could you know what it was going to turn out to be if you're just talking about random crap every day? You don't even know what cut is going to go into the movie at the end of it. You don't know the score of the film. Right. You get this like incredible vastness of nature. And then one of the, I think, probably best film scores of all time. I think that I could argue that. I think that it is perfect. I think that it is ethereal at times. I think that it's mythical. I think it's exciting and interesting. It has, what is the name of that song? It's the lick from Aquarium.
Oh, right. Well, you should say to our dear listeners who aren't, who is the famous composer? Do you know how to pronounce his name? I had to Google
Morricone.
Yeah, it's just Morricone. It's just like, I always thought it was something different, but I did like 4 different searches to make sure for like people interviewing and talking to it. So it's Ennio Morricone, who famously did of course, the Clint Eastwood films, the spaghetti westerns, and
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh,
yeah, this was his first Oscar nomination, I believe. If you can believe it, this was his first nomination. Was this film at that point?
He did such a great job. He did such. It's grandeur. There is so much grandeur in that, and yet the wheat blowing in the wind is still powerful. So to not have those two things conflict with each other is a really big challenge, and it was so successful here. Is it called Aquarium? There's like 4 different pieces that he uses for this that he kind of uses again and again, but Aquarium is from another classical piece. I think it's a glass harmonica. It's like I can't sing. I don't know why I tried.
Oh, okay, so right here, you're right. So Morricone's score includes 4 recurring pieces: Harvest, Happiness, The Honeymoon, and The Return. Harvest is the film's main theme and opens with a melody that references Aquarium. The 7th movement of the Camille Saint-Saëns Carnival of the Animals.
That piece is like super famous. Like I have heard that in TV shows. I know it best from The Simpsons. There's a part in The Simpsons when there's like a nostalgic little bit and they play that piece. But I mean, it's in tons of stuff. I want to say it was in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia at one point. I've just heard that piece so many times, and I had never really seen it be powerful. It's always used as kind of like a goofy nostalgia music.
Oh, interesting.
Like we're going back in time. Ooh. But here it felt so good. And so I was really excited to see. I'm sure that that's not where it originated from. Again, I think he just used that portion to add into that score. It's really effective, and I loved it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Okay,
I actually went and listened to it because I couldn't figure out if Morricone's score was what was actually getting used. Again, the first thing I thought of was The Simpsons. I couldn't figure out if it was the actual score from this movie or if it was a clip from the classical song that portion of the score comes from. So I was very curious about that earlier. I still don't know that I know the answer, but they sound almost exactly the same.
When I mentioned that, both the actresses were crying, they were so moved by what they saw, and they, maybe even a bit of, I would say, relief, but maybe some of the combination of just like they were just so moved by what they saw on screen that they both cried throughout the film. I believe Brooke Adams said after the first 10 minutes, she was crying for the whole film, just in tears of the film. Yeah. But you said yourself, is like, why, well, of course they did, because they didn't know what to expect, maybe. So that's the beauty of Terrence Malick. I think that's the genius, is that you could have, there's a reason why he's editing for 2 years. And isn't it good that he didn't rush it? I mean, I know the actors are 2 years old or whatever, but art is endless. If you think about it, there should be no time limit on art. So this is a film where we're watching 50 years later almost. And I don't care how long it took to edit now. It's 50 years later. Who cares? Like, we have a beautiful film. And maybe Terrence knows that. He's, look, I'm not going to put something out there and rush this product just because it's been 2 years ago since principal photography. And that's maybe the genius of Terrence, is that he might be talking to grasshoppers and telling his actors, this is, pretend it's your birthday, whatever it is, and just start talking to each other. Because when it came down to that's part of his process, is like he's feeling something in the editing room. He creates a whole other story, or whatever it is that he does. We have this film.
It's almost like poetry disguised as a period drama. That's kind of what we get here, is that it's not a standard period drama. We haven't even mentioned the fact that this is technically a period drama. I mean, I know that you've described the time frame, but that's basically what we're getting here. That's like the genre of this film, I guess, is the closest genre that I could attribute it to.
Yes.
But it's not anything like that.
And speaking of Legends of the Fall, the World War I connection, it's the same timeline too, which is weird. They're both the World War I sequences.
I think you're onto something there.
I think I might be onto something there. Lastly, a little fun trivia. I remember when I saw this in the film, because I think this is the 70s. And speaking of the 70s, I love 70s films. The aesthetic of the 70s film, because you just know there's no, now we can say AI. There's no AI. There's no CGI. It's all practical photography. I mean, he's literally using natural light. I just love that every scene is just that's people on the screen with real sets, real costumes. I don't know. I just love that style of filmmaking in the 70s. I love the look of it. So it's got the perfect combination of Terrence Malick with Badlands and Days of Heaven, where you just have that 70s look that can never be, it can't be replicated, unfortunately.
It cannot be replicated. I frequently say that the 70s are probably my favorite era of films, and movies like this are the reason why.
I agree. Now, lastly, talking about the Locusts, when they took off in the air, I was like, how did they do that? Like, how did they freaking, no CGI, Kaylee? Do you know how they did it?
I read it, but you can.
I know, but it's just fast.
You go ahead, because I was so curious. Because again, it's okay. This locust scene.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's one of the main things that people talk about when they talk about this movie. It captures all of the beauty. It captures all of the destruction that we're experiencing, all in this one gesture of the locusts taking off and flying everywhere. And it's beautiful and, again, chaotic. But so my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, my understanding is what they did was they had the actors walk backwards and they were dropping peanut shells. And then in editing, they've reversed film.
Love that
which
stuff.
Is, you cannot tell that at all.
No.
It looks like locusts are flying everywhere. This is the best practical effect. We talk about good practical effects in horror movies so frequently because we're excited to see somebody's head explode.
Yeah, sure.
This locust scene is one of the best practical effects that I've ever seen in my life. It's so
crazy.
Good.
The first thought I had when I saw them, quote unquote, in the film take off, because the actors are standing in the field and they have that 20 minutes of lighting for that shot. They're all in shadows. And I'm like, how the hell did they know to film the locusts? You can't train the locusts to take off on. Amazing. And they did bring in real locusts at the Canadian Agricultural Department, which they probably wouldn't do now, but they did in the 70s. They brought in a bunch of locusts for the filming as well. So a lot of the locusts we see in the field, of course, we're unnaturally brought in for the filming, which is, to me, it's chaos. You got real locusts flying around on top of the fact. Oh, well, speaking of, sorry, I'm all over the place here.
No, go ahead.
That's what's so cool about this film. You see Abby's character or sorry, Abby, the character, in her bathroom, bathes and washing her face, and there's a locust. Just one single locust is in her wash bowl. I love that idea. It's just one in a bowl, and she flicks it away. We're thinking as if well, why is there a locust in her wash? Who cares? And the idea that how it goes from one simple locust in the wash
one
bowl,
invasion,
one little invasion in her little personal space of a wash bowl, to the field now has been burnt down to the ground. Yeah. It's just crazy.
It's truly amazing. I'm actually glad that you described that. Also, them bringing in the locusts, because I was wondering if they did. I was wondering if they had to go and find. There's lots and lots of close-up shots of the locusts, of the loci. I don't know how you say it. How
locusts.
You pluralize. Locusts.
Yeah.
They do lots of close-up shots of them, and I was wondering if they had brought them in. And I would think that they would not allow you to bring in
70s.
a locust. Yeah, the 70s was a wild place, man. What a weird, wacky time it was.
It was like
then.
Officially the Canadian, the Canadian government brought it in. Like, hey, you want some? Here you go.
So so it was peanut shells that they used for the effect, right? Who do you think ate all those damn peanuts?
That's a great question. I bet you it was the cast and crew. They had so much in between time. They probably they probably brought in a bunch of peanuts. Look, guys, we're gonna need this for just keep.
They're gambling with the peanuts in between shots.
Do you have Five Guys and Five Guys?
Oh yeah.
I don't think they do it anymore because of peanut allergies. I don't think they do it anymore.
Used to have them.
The peanuts. Yeah.
Do you have Texas Roadhouse? They also have peanuts everywhere. You're supposed to throw the peanut shells on the floor.
The ground. That's right.
Which is disgusting. I don't think they do that anymore either. But one day, it was my friend's birthday, and I asked her where she wanted to go for dinner for her birthday, and she goes, "Oh, I want to go to Texas Roadhouse." I was like, "Who wants to go to a chain restaurant for their birthday? Like, what a dumb choice." I'm like insulting her a little bit about it. She goes, "I like that I can eat peanuts and just throw the shells anywhere." I was like, "Okay, that's great. I'm glad you enjoy that."
That's hilarious.
So she would have really liked working on the crew of this movie, I guess, because she would have been just throwing peanuts
everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, is there any other thing that you have in your notes you want to touch on before we wrap up? I just want to make sure I get that from you.
I don't think so. I think that we really did a good job of hitting all of the incredible, stunning beauty of this film.
It's hard to talk about, and I don't mean that like it's bad hard. It's just like I did Black Hat, and I did it solo, and I talked for 40 odd minutes by myself solo because it was oddly, in a weird way, easy to talk about something that's so like, why is this film made type dialogue.
Yeah.
This film, we'll never ask why. I'm glad it was like, you would never, why was this film? No. Praise be the movie gods this film was made. That's the point. It's like, this film is so unique and different and special. Like, if you like films at all and just want to see a film this is a film. It's not a movie. This is a visual. You said it best, and you took it out. I love that you said it without reading Sam's quote there, that every frame is a painting. I mean, just look at the little picture I have here. That was from the Criterion DVD cover there. I just love the farmer. I don't know who's necessarily in that frame, but just a man in the wheat field looking at the house and Days of Heaven. It just everything speaks, and it's just so. And there is an undercurrent of tension, and things are going to come to a head. You just know. I didn't think, spoiler, I didn't think both men would die, and both girls got cut. I was surprised by that.
I was very surprised by that.
And that's what I love about Terrence is he doesn't write necessarily a feel-good story. It's not about that. It's about life, and life is just life. It's just, yeah. So, Cayley, this has been an absolute joy to have you on. You're so easy to podcast with, and you're so good at talking about films because you yourself do your own film review podcast. Tell people where they can watch that.
I do. You can find me on YouTube on Once Over with Kaylee, Cayley. I talk about all sorts of different movies over there. And of course, now, Ryan, I'm going to have to drag you over so we can talk about Shockwaves. So that'll be coming up very soon. You can also check out on that same channel. I do lots of other things. I give the once over to all different things, including the Dabbleverse, which I won't explain right now. But if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. I will say though, people have from the Dabbleverse. I want to say thank you. There have been subscribers to the YouTube channel, and from you and Andy bringing people over from the Dabbleverse. So thank you so much to those listeners. I appreciate you guys' support. Yes,
we got a weird group of people. They're my favorites.
We do have a weird group. Yeah,
they're amazing. And in addition to that, I'm actually starting a new little series where I'm going to be giving the once over to the early internet days. So I'll be talking about things like Usenet and how people got on the internet in the first place, the first trolling, the first spamming, all of those sorts of things. So I'm pretty pumped about that. But
Do you know
of
what the
course, there
first
will
picture
always
is?
be movie reviews.
You got the first picture uploaded?
I have no.
Google it.
I know the first
Spoiler.
picture. I know the first picture that like broke the internet was the J-Lo dress. Is that it? That's not
No,
it.
the
That was
first picture. You will be bamboozled about the first picture uploaded to the web. It's hilarious. You would never guess it. And no, it's not nudity.
Lame. I'm not even going to Google it now.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna have to check that out and do an episode on it. How exciting!
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Kaylee. And the next episode will be with Husey, where we're going to cover The Thin Red Line. Looking forward to that. I know. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.